What is up, guys? Welcome back to another Anime Vanguards video. And while I was working for my raid guide, I was very graciously taken into PvP by Valk, shout out Valk, who let me showcase PvP before it came out. You know, this is the PvP game mode that will be coming out in Update 6. And I was able to play a couple matches against him. And the very first match I am going to lose, unfortunately, because it was my first ever match playing. I didn't even know how the game worked. But future point of reference here, don't do what I did and bring expensive units. You are really going to need at least one cheap epic unit to keep yourself alive. But let me cut to the next match. Unfortunately, I did lose again, because this time, although I did bring in a cheap unit, he spawned in shielded enemies, and then those screwed me over pretty good. I didn't have anything to deal with shields besides Lancer, but 15 shield off spawn, yeah, Lancer's not going to be able to deal with that. But now we're going to move on to the third and final match, which I did win, and it's the longest one, which will give you the best grasp of what endgame looks like. So let's move to that. Alright, so here is the final match, a full PvP game. This one went into mid-game. I wouldn't really consider it endgame. It didn't last that long, but I will cut the footage to anything interesting if it gets too long. But here's a good rule of thumb. Number one, you'll see that I'm bringing in a very cheap unit. I have a Killua, and he's only 525 to place. That is extremely useful to have in PvP, because right off the rip, you're going to spawn in with like 600 bucks, I think. You're going to spawn in with a little bit of money. It's enough to place a farm, but it's not enough to place any of your good mythic units that cost well into the thousands to place. And if your enemy is smart, and they know your team, and they know that you don't have anything cheap to support yourself early game, they can do exactly what he did to me in the past two matches and just spam little cheap enemies that I have no way of dealing with. And by the time that I can deal with them, it's already too late. So Killua is a really solid starter pick for PvP. As you can see, the enemies at the start barely have any health, so he's perfect for dealing with them. He's really cost effective. He has multi-hit, so he can deal with shields. He stuns the enemies. He is super duper good. Other good cheap units to have, any Monarch unit, obviously it makes your cost efficiency 10 times better. It goes through the roof because you have a unit that does the damage of 4 into 1. And right here, this is the enemy editor screen. Right here, you can choose between every single modifier in the game, to my knowledge. And you can choose the health multiplier of the enemy. You can choose how many enemies are in there. You can go up to 99, and you can give them a modifier, right? So I'm sending in 99 exploding enemies. As of right now, I'm pretty sure you can't include, or like you can't spawn in bosses. You can only spawn red ants. And the way that this game works is you see your little economy number on the top left corner of the screen, or the top left side of the screen. That is how much profit or how much money you're going to be gaining at the end of every wave. Or maybe not every wave, but like every now and then, that's how much money you're going to be getting. The only way to increase that is to send in enemies onto your opponent's side and let them die. Once those enemies die, your economy meter, or like your little economy number, is going to go up. So if you've ever played Bloons TD Battles 2, this system is very reminiscent of that. It is exactly the same. You send in enemy balloons, your economy goes up every single time you send an enemy. I saw that he's using Uryu, and that's actually a pretty smart pick since they have infinite range. It's actually a pretty good option there. I didn't even think about using him. But as you can see, I'm going to send him some more enemies pretty soon. I'm just looking through all the modifiers. If I'm being honest, I completely forgot what all the modifiers do. I just knew that energy drain made them like do less damage, so I sent in 3 of those. But if you're looking at my economy number, you see how it's going up as soon as I sent in enemies? Once they start dying off, that's when you start getting your money up. And trust me, early game, I would say the meta for the early game is to, well, if it's traits enabled, save up until you can place your first Monarch, upgrade him a little bit, he'll carry you through everything, and you can just keep spamming the little minions over and over again, because you want your economy to be as high as humanly possible for the late game. That's when you can really start saving up for your heavy hitting enemies that are eventually going to be able to win you the game. He did also say, Valk did mention that there will be a traits disabled version, and I am extremely thankful for that, because God, I do not want to play I do not want to go against people that are using like Monarch Yuhaba. There we go. Yeah, I don't want to go up against people's like meta Monarch teams, even though I'm using Monarch units that are pretty good. I would much rather play traits disabled. I feel like that's more of a real test of skill, because you don't have any pay to win traits, you're just using your units. And anyways, as I was saying, this is the enemy editor, enemy selector. The UI for it is a little bit odd in my opinion. It's kind of like unsatisfying to look at, just because the enemy modifiers that you can choose from, as soon as you click on it, it's just this giant like mess that overpowers the entire screen. I'll see if in the footage right now it'll show. Yeah, it won't show, but you guys saw me using it, right? whenever you go in to spawn your enemies and you're choosing which modifier you want to use, the letters kind of like overflow into the rest of the GUI and it looks a little messy. But I'm sure they're going to fix that later on. But keep in mind, PvP is still far from finished. Right now, this is like the very, very early rudimentary stages of it, at least from my knowledge, from what I'm doing. But the concept and the game itself is very much there. It's structured like your typical Bloons TD Battles map, but if you never played that game, I'll try to word it a little bit better. There's two sides. I'm sure you guys saw that. My side, my opponent's side. The map is identical lengths, and I believe this is the Fate map. This is that one Legend stage map that you get Gilgamesh from. And you can make some pretty crazy combos with the little modifiers that you can put on the enemies. Let me cut to when things are getting a little bit more interesting right now. This is what I would call like mid to end game PvP. As you can see, I'm on wave 18. My economy is almost at 30k, but I can no longer invest money into sending enemies to his side because he's just completely overrunning me with enemies on my side, so I have to invest everything I have into defense. If you can see right there, my Monarch Gogeta is fighting against me. He's walking on the track as an enemy. That is a modifier called Mind Control. You can send Mind Control enemies, and they will take control of your strongest units that you have placed down, and they will turn them into enemies. And don't quote me on this, I believe it also takes away your unit. Like, it doesn't sell it, it just makes it disappear off of the map, and then it turns into an enemy that starts walking on the track against you. I found that the only way to circumvent this is to sell your unit, sell whatever unit got mind controlled, and just replace it. It's not going to make the enemy that's on your side go away, but it'll at least let you place them again. I don't know if that's intended or if that's a bug, but I found that's a pretty good way to, you know, play around mind control. Although you're still going to be wasting a lot of money having to max out a unit, sell it, replace it, and upgrade it again. It's better than not being able to use the unit at all, especially if you have Monarch like me. So let's say I upgrade my Gogeta to upgrade 8. I invest all of my money into him. Now, so he pops mind control on me, and I have no way of using my Gogeta, and there's a 400,000 HP enemy on my side of the track. So it's better for me to just sell my Gogeta, replace it. The point of mind control, that modifier specifically, because that's what I use to win this game, is to just overrun your opponent with their own units. That's the whole shtick, that's the whole gimmick. But I want to make it very clear the strategies that I'm employing here are just the very, very teensy tiny tip of the iceberg. You can combine up to 5 modifiers on the same enemy, and you can also play around with the health multiplier. You can play around with how many enemies you send in at once. But it was looking pretty bad for me at first. And then I started sending in mind control enemies of my own. As you can see, it costs 50k to send the mind control enemy, which is incredibly expensive, but it's obviously for good reason, right? Literally one of the best modifiers in the game for PvP. Not only does it make your own opponent's units work against them, but it also makes them waste money trying to defend it. It's literally perfect. Now, before we end off the video, because there's only about a minute left of footage that I can showcase here, here's what I will say. PvP is very addicting. It is very fun. The 3 games that I played, I had a ton of fun, even though I lost the first 2. It is an incredibly addictive, replayable game mode. I am so hyped to see this in Update 6. The only thing that's left, in my opinion, they need to have good rewards. If PvP has no good reward incentive, even if the game mode itself is really, really fun, I don't want another Odyssey situation where they were like, hey guys, Odyssey is more so for fun than it is a game mode to grind. So, you know, don't expect too much. I remember they said that a while ago. I really hope that's not the angle that they go with for PvP, just because I feel like this game mode has so much potential to retain players, like a lot of players, dude. I can see people grinding PvP day in and day out, like this shit is a 9-to-5 job easily. It is super duper fun. There's so many strategies and unit teams and modifier compositions to play around with that the possibilities are truly, truly endless. But as you can see here, I was able to send in enough of the enemies to overrun him. He no longer has enough money to deal with it, and I finally win my first ever my first ever PvP game. That's all the footage that I have for you guys. Let me know in the comments if you're excited to play PvP in Update 6. But with all that out of the way, have a great day or night wherever you are. Stay tuned for more content, and I will catch you in the next one. And shout out Valk.